everybody, welcome to Teensy Vintage. This is Teresa. Today we are going to use one of the gel plate prints that I made a couple weeks ago. You may have seen that video. I'll link it down in the description below. We're reusing that here on this page that we're going to put a lot of ink and stamps, and we're going to use stencils as stamps. And I was trying something a little new to me today. I was doing a stencil as stamp, but I was going to do a wet on wet application. So I sprayed the water on the page as well, and you get a really watercolory effect with that, which I decided after I did it I wasn't that crazy about. But that's okay. We'll keep going. Sure, I could have just gotten out another sheet of mixed media paper, but I figured, you know what, let's just see where this goes. So now we're going to switch to a different color, and I'm using the Distress Oxides in this particular case because they react with water and just look really cool. So now we're adding some yellow with the same stencil. That stencil is from the Crafter's Workshop, by the way. It's called Grid of Rings. It's really great for this stencil as stamp application. Um, and if you are into this kind of thing, I suggest you get a stencil that is relatively open and use one that is sturdy, because you want to be able to control, it touching the paper and getting a clean print, as it were. And you can use what's left of the ink on your stencil to get kind of a second printing out of it that's going to be a little more a bit faded, and you can get different looks all by using the same stencil. So now I'm going to dry everything before I move on to my next step, because this is water reactive ink. We want to make sure it's dry. So far, so good. It's a little messy, but that's okay. I kind of like the contrast between the crisp rings and the blurry rings. Contrast is your friend. Now we're going to pull out the gel press, or yeah, the gel press print that I made. And I have decided to cut out this curved image that I made using a stencil. And I'm just going to play around now with where I want to put uh, this print. And I'm tearing off some more of it just to make it fit. And it's a pretty cool curved image. So that's going to be a background for my focal point. So it's part of a focal point. Okay, so now I've seen that it will fit where I want it to fit on the page. And what I'm going to do now is take another stencil. I believe that one is a Dina Wakley stencil. And we're going to add some acrylic paint to the page to put even more color on here. And I picked a bright green, and we're just going to add it with a cosmetics wedge. I'm going to try to get my angles here. Yay, camera work. Okay, so we're going to get a little bit here on our sponge and just going to gently pounce the color onto the page. That way you won't get any glop underneath your stencil, and you'll get a pretty clean looking application. You may have to put two coats on to get something that is a little more opaque. This paint is, it's not full on transparent, but it's also not really thick. So I did add a little more than just one application. And it gave me enough coverage that I was happy with. And we're going to add a little more green right up here. And do this one in a kind of a square shape, because we have a couple rectangular shapes on the other side. All right. Clean off my stencil a little bit. Okay, so Now I'm going to get out my brush. It's a round brush, and I'm going to wet the brush and gently start filling in some of that white space with the same green to just do something different. I don't know. I was going with my gut here. And I'm just lightly going in with the brush and watered down paint so that it kind of has a bit of a watercolor look. And I'm just going to go around the page, and wherever it feels good to put some more green, I'm going to put some more green. Gonna test out my focal point again here, and I decide that it needs a little more color too. It's like, Teresa, there's already so much color on that thing. And I'm like, yes, yes, there is. But I wanted to do something where I could highlight some of this piece because some of it was just a little too grungy. Plus, I didn't like the white. So I'm going in with some bright yellow transparent paint now to go over some of those spaces. So the white spaces obviously will be a very bright yellow. And I'm also going to go over some of these light pink places, and that is going to kind of turn into a little bit of a um, orange, a fun orange. And all I'm doing is going where it feels right to do it, and I'm just kind of highlighting here and there. And it's just going to bring out some detail. It may be a little hard to see here on the video, but I will have some pictures at the end of this video where you can see the detail up close. But what I'm doing is going in with a very small brush and just going over some of the places that I want to highlight. And here, there were some impressions made with bubble wrap on the gel plate. And what I'm doing is highlighting a few of those little bubble wrap spots with the yellow paint. And it's just kind of brightening certain places. So this piece now has a lot more punch to it, and it's not just grungy looking. It's grungy still, but it's got a lot of distinctive lines, dots, things like that. So you could say we're adding more detail to this page by adding more contrast. Yeah, and I'm pretty happy with that. Okay, so I'm going to take my leftover yellow, and I'm also going to go in on some areas of this background here and fill in circles, um, and any spots that just need a little extra color. We're going to end up with a lot of color on this page, but I'm okay with that. Here I'm going behind these green rounded squares with the yellow just to make some of them stand out. Also kind of filling in some of the circles left by the yellow stencil that we did at the beginning of the video. And just kind of bringing that yellow color down into the center of the page. Now remember, eventually some of this is going to be covered up with our focal. But I wanted to make sure that some of it kind of looked like it was coming out from behind, like a cloud or some yellow smoke or something. Whatever your imagination tells you it is. How about that? Also felt like filling in this corner down here with some more color, and this is going to help the eye move around later. Um, I apologize for my sniffles today. My allergies are overtime right now. I'm gonna make a light green with the yellow, and I'm gonna go in and do a little more shading over here and do some blending with the light green and the medium green, I guess. It's a darker green, but just kind of filling in that corner as well. And it ends up being kind of a watercolory look, which is nice. It's very soft, which will contrast with the very distinct hard edges of what we did with the green paint in the stencil. Here's some Distress Oxide ink that I've added water to, and now I'm going to take a wet brush and go in and fill in some of my blue circles to mirror all of the watercolor-like areas that I did with the yellow and the light green. So we're just kind of repeating ourselves here, but with a different color, just to give some unity to our page. And I'm also going to do some spatter, whichever one, um, just to make it look cool. I don't know, spatters are cool. All right, we've dried everything. Now it's time to take our big focal and glue that puppy down. So I'm going to use some art glitter glue and adhere it to the page. And this will be an anchor for the focal point that we'll put in just a minute. Yeah, I'm going to use this plastic here to just flatten everything down very evenly, and get rid of any little bits of glue that may have seeped out on the side. It's coming together, y'all. All right. So I pulled out some Tim Holtz paper dolls. I pulled out the Witchy Sisters here. And then I was like, let me see what else I have. But it was like, duh, we're going to use these Witchy Sisters. They're great. I love that one of them is holding a dustpan. She has a broom, but it's a little one and it comes with a dustpan. It's very cute. All right, so let's go ahead and glue these ladies down. And I've put them off center just because it looks good. It balances out the other image. So they're black and white, which I love against this super colorful background. I'm like, it needs some more. So I pulled out some stamps. This is a set from Sizzix and 49 and Market called Birdsong. And it has a lot of really pretty text and some birds. And all I'm doing is just randomly picking out some stamps from this sheet and using the archival ink from Ranger in jet black. And just going around and popping in some stamps, just kind of in some spots where it just needs a little something extra. Plus, it's fun to stamp. There we go. There's a bird. Y'all remember that skit from Portlandia? Put a bird on it. Yeah, we were all very into birds in the late aughts. And now I'm not even using my plastic block. I'm just using my fingers to randomly put some text here and there. Keeping it grungy. All right. So this page is coming together really nicely. And I've got one other stamp set here. This is from Creative Expressions. It's a Sam Poole set. And she made these collections of words and numbers from Victorian era stuff. So I'm adding a few of those numbers as well. It's a great stamp set. Yeah. Oh, this is looking really cool. All right, we got to give our witches something to stand on. So we're going to use our Stabilo All Pencil in black and a little bit of water on a small brush to activate that pencil and give it a nice finished look. That way they're not just floating in the air, right? Although I guess if they're witches, they could float in the air. I don't know. Um, but yeah, giving them the ground to stand on. Gonna make sure that's nice and dry. Our handy heat tool. Yeah, this is coming together. Listen, I had no idea what this was gonna look like when I sat down. So now I'm going to try to find something cool to say. I'm looking through my little box of old book text and didn't find anything. So I pulled out the Halloween snippet set from Tim Holtz, and I found a good one. I found one that said "watching and waiting," It takes me a second to find it because you got to read through all this stuff. But yeah, there it is. All right. And I'm going to use some vintage photo to go around the edges here. Again, to grunge it up. We love grunge. Grunge is what makes this all come together. And I'm going to snip it in half. It just looks better on the page to me. Also, putting it down with a little bit of glue just because the adhesive doesn't want to stick to the paint. And that's okay. All right, y'all, this is it. I really appreciate you tuning in and watching here. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and be sure to subscribe. And I will see you all next time.